Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the original classic Twilight Zone, Season 1, Episode 30. Seasons shouldn't go to 30. This is weird. See, seasons of TV shows should be like the plot of Logan's Run. You get killed off at 30, right?
Yeah, if this was made today, it would be the season finale of Season 3.
On cable, yeah. It actually would be, yeah. Or in fact, even the actual new Twilight Zone only had 10 episodes, you're right. Exactly. Oh, jeez. If it gets to Season 3, quality should dictate it shouldn't, but it has been renewed for Season 2, so we'll see how it goes. But this is A Stop at Willoughby is the title. Is it just me, or does Willoughby sound really British?
Sounds Australian.
Okay, I could see that, yeah, because it sounds like
a wallaby.
Like a wallaby, yeah. Yeah, I could see it. Well, British and Australian are very similar. Not so much Scottish British, but like English British. Like Australian's definitely a lot of the same slang is used in Australia. So there's a lot of words that kind of, like if you think British people.
And why is that?
And why is that? Oh, because Britain sent all their criminals to Australia at one point. It was a whole thing.
Why did you guys send all the good-looking people out there too? I mean.
I just come on these shows with Tara now to be emasculated. That's all that happens on these shows. That's all that happens. You should have heard her on the Ace record the other night. It was just how good looking every man was, how sexy they all were.
Hey, I'm a lonely lady.
Anyway.
This is what I can get.
So, Stop at Willoughby is an episode about a man, which sounded very similar to Walking Distance when we read about it last week, and we heard Rod Serling talk about it. It's a little bit different actually in practice. Actually watching the episode, there's a key difference, and it's actually quite a dark episode and I realized it started to feel dark to me even like halfway through the episode, because I kind of got what this was like, because obviously in Walking Distance or places like that, whether or not it was real or not, there was kind of a positive upbeat idea to it, where it was like he needed an escape for a day, and it kind of reinvigorated him for life again, right? Whereas, because in this episode, where this Willoughby, this magical place that doesn't really exist when he falls asleep on the train, because I was surprised early on when he woke back up, and it was like, oh, that was a place that he went to in his dream for like, a minute, and he came back.
Me too.
I was like, oh, I didn't expect to see present day again till the end. I was surprised by that. And then it became clear as the episode went on that this story is basically about someone wanting to commit suicide. That's what this episode is.
Yeah. Are you going to ask me if I liked it?
The premise is that he's this businessman. He works at an ad agency. He's basically a really pathetic version of Don Draper. Although Don Draper's already kind of pathetic. He's just much better looking and successful. But he's still pathetic. From the season and a half of Mad Men that I saw. Not for me.
Never watched it.
It's not for me. It was a bit dull for me. I wasn't into it. But
my mother loves it, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, well, she was probably also like a teenager during that when it was set. So.
She's the type who sees it and thinks, "Oh, what a nice time to live," and completely misses the message of the show.
There was an episode of Legends of Tomorrow, which is a time travel show, where they go back to the 50s, and the old guy starts going about, oh, isn't this a great time? Everything's kind of nice and sweet and Americana, and everything feels so innocent and vibrant. And then like the woman who's sitting next to him, like, who happens to be bisexual, turns and goes, yeah, if you're a straight white man, and he's like, okay, fair point. So yes, 50s and 60s, not that idyllic for most of the population, but
for anybody other than the white man, yeah.
And I'd like to think
I'm shaming.
I'd like to think that if I was alive then, I'd have a lot of problems with society. I like to think that I'd be, as the kids would say, woke. Maybe I wouldn't be. I'd like to think I would be, though. I like to think of myself as a fairly progressive individual.
Yeah, look at you. You've almost given up dairy. It's pretty progressive.
I'd like to think the not being racist or sexist or homophobic would be more important than giving up the dairy.
Yes, of course. Everybody knows that about you. Next is animals. I'm working on it.
Anyway, so yes, the episode, businessman, 60s, advertising agency. He has a lot of pressure. His boss is a hard ass with him. He was chomping on the cigar and he's yelling at him. He's like, you'd be better than this.
So cliche.
Yeah. But he takes the train home every night, and he falls asleep, and he dreams that the train stops at a place called Willoughby, and the train goes from. It's just funny because last week we were talking about how we wouldn't have recognized if it was a 60s train or an 1880s train, but in this episode actually showed me the difference. But the one thing that stuck out to me about the 60s train is that the conductor still had to walk up and down the train shouting what the next stop was. They don't have like a screen or like even just over the PA saying next stop is, whatever.
Right, yeah.
So still ancient by our standards, but yes, I noticed the difference. So he dreams of a place called Willoughby, and I immediately noticed that his name was Williams, and the place was called Willoughby. It felt like, okay, it's made just for you. Like, you got a little bit in there.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So, and then he wakes up and he goes home to his wife, who's concerned about his performance at work, and he's going back and forth to work. He dreams of Willoughby again, and he makes the choice just before the ad break that next time he falls asleep, he's going to get off the train and go to Willoughby because it seems like such a nice place. And yeah, so that's the premise. I'll leave. I've been describing the episode too long. Tara, what do you think of a stop at Willoughby?
I think this might be my favorite one so far.
Whoa, bold claims.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it has everything that I want from a Twilight Zone episode. And you're right, it does end super dark, which I kind of dig. And I like the way it was shot. I like the lead actor. I like the emotional journey. I like the layers that are in it after you find out the twist at the end.
I like the emotional journey. Tara just said she likes the story of someone being depressed and stressed until they kill themselves. You're a bitter old woman.
I'm evil. Yes.
No, I mostly agree. I don't know if it's my favorite so far. I think it's maybe maybe top 5 or something like that. That's a debate we'll have at the end of the season. But
I think this one's really, really clean, really well done. I think the performance is one of the best ones we had. There is a moment in it where he breaks down, and I kind of break down with him. It's good. It's really well done and well written.
That was the moment for me when he has that little breakdown in the back half when he's got the 2 phones at the same time, and the secretary's also yelling at him that someone else wants to see him. Like, there was a moment there where I realized what this episode really is that it's about the pressure on him wanting to escape, and not just escape in a nice way. I started to get this is about suicide. That said, I didn't actually think it was going to literally end with them revealing that he'd committed suicide.
No, the twist got me.
Yeah, I thought this is what it represents. I thought, no, this is about suicide, even if it doesn't show that or confirm it.
I
this
thought
is
it was
about
an allegory,
suicide,
and then they just kind of hit you with it, like.
Yeah, it's like, no, he's actually dead. Okay. Again, much like some of these episodes, he should look a lot more mangled than he does at the end when he's jumped off the train. He looks like he's asleep.
That's okay.
But it's a minor quibble. It's not a big deal.
Sure.
It's of his time, but. No, I appreciate how dark it was. I will say this by far is the latest the ad break has ever been. I checked the time because I felt it felt late. I was like, why? We've not had the ad break yet. The ad break happened at the 17-minute mark, which out of 25 minutes is kind of insane.
No, I don't know if I noticed it, but I noticed the absence of Serling in this one a lot. I know we get him for an opening and closing narration, but for some reason, halfway through it didn't feel like a Twilight Zone episode anymore.
I can explain it a little bit, actually. I think it's because going along with how late the ad break is, the opening, because sometimes a scene will play, because sometimes Serling starts talking right away at the start of the opening scene, and sometimes there'll be a little scene first, and then he'll come in and say, okay, this is so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. This does that, but the scene before he comes in is easily the longest we've went until he starts talking, because the scene in the boardroom... The scene in the boardroom where he's getting yelled at, and then he goes to his office before Serling starts talking to him, is like a good 4 or 5 minutes. It's like, it's not just the little intro scene you usually get. There's a whole story that takes place where they're waiting for this guy, this younger ad exec that Williams recommended for this new account, this big account that was worth $3 million per year, which in 1960 money is probably like, 15 million now.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing where they're waiting for him and he's making excuses, he's trying to call him, and then there's a whole story that takes place where someone eventually comes and tells him that he's left for another company and he's taking the account with him, and then he gets yelled at because he recommended this younger guy. So there's a whole little story that takes place, there's a little arc of this guy who's meant to show up and then doesn't, and how it's William's fault that takes place before we even get Rod Serling, which is interesting. It's not good or bad, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it seemed, I felt his distance from the episode, though.
Sure.
I almost turned the episode off before he came back to tell us what was on next, because I forgot.
Yeah.
It was coming up.
So no, that was a really interesting touch. I don't think it's completely perfect. I do think the pacing in the first half, I think it was basically the scene with the wife, I thought it dragged on a little bit long, but it's not a big complaint. It's just I got the point of the scene. very
crucial
quickly.
into the episode, though.
Oh,
Like
no, she
her
is. She absolutely is.
materialism and the backstory that we get about her basically grooming him into this person that he doesn't want to be.
Mm.
And she has no love for him anymore. It's almost like she was always just trying to make her life perfect, so she had to create the perfect guy
No,
in order to
she
do
wants to
that.
be the rich housewife, and she wants to make
Yeah,
him be
that's
successful
all.
for that.
Because when he reaches out to her for help, she hangs up the phone.
Yeah, no, because he tries to call her at work, and that's actually right before the train ride where he commits suicide. That's right before. That's the last thing he does. He tries to call her and says, "Just stay at home so I can come and see you," and she hangs up. And it's that loss, that yeah. So no, I agree. She's essential. It's just a little bit of pacing. It's just could have been a bit tighter in that scene. But I mean, again, it's a minor complaint.
I
That's
didn't
all.
feel it.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a minor complaint. But like I say, this episode is super dark, and it is a very personal story about the pressure of this man who hates his job, hates the pressure that's put on him for something that he never really seemed to want in the first place. And I think it's pointing out not only the people around him, but the pressures of society, and kind of like, because all the things that these other people want, it's almost like, yeah, he's a cog in this machine, and his wife is part of that machine. It's like, no, she wants all these materialistic things, so she wants her husband to be this, and it's just like he's almost just a conduit for the things she wants. Is it's just
Yeah.
it's a sort of marriage where you expect to ask, oh, why did you marry him? It's like, oh, he was the sensible option, not the one I love, not the one
Sure.
that I was passionate
Well,
about.
plus the first time we meet her, she's telling him that she found out what happened through work because one of his coworkers' wives called her to let her know what was happening. And it's almost like you are ruining my image because now that wife knows.
Yeah, you can't imagine this wife giving him a hug, right? Oh, you had a bad day. Here's, have a hug. Like, oh, the first thing she does when he gets in is, oh, you're having a drink, are you? You're gonna get plastered and sing old college songs, are you? She's right in his face immediately.
Yeah. And you see her picture on his desk, and it's like this full glamour shot.
Oh, it's a it's like a headshot almost.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard to miss. I think that was kind of also a crucial setup to what he's married to. He's married to the trophy wife. He was just there for the image.
Yeah, it made me laugh because I almost thought that it was a fake. Like, they were going to reveal that he's not married, and this was like a fake. Because it looked like those like stock images you get in the photo frame when you buy one. He just had that on his desk. Actually, he's got a dark sense of humor as well, because as he's walking in, because he storms out the meeting after he yells at the boss, and as he's going into his office, his secretary's like, "Oh, hey, can I get you anything? Coffee or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can get me one thing actually. Can you get me a sharp razor and a chart showing all of the vital vessels in the human body?" And
I guess that's our first clue, huh?
yeah, his first clue that he's in a really dark place. But of course, it's this weird thing almost, because it's an episode of a TV show in the 60s. They can't actually get too overt with it too early. They can't just have him be like, because I feel like if you did this now, unless you want it to be a twist, I feel like you'd have someone who's a bit more broody and a bit more dark, and it'd feel more depressing from the get-go. But it's almost like, because it has to kind of adhere to what TV is supposed to be in 1960, is that it kind of automatically gives it this shield of like, oh, we have to have it appear a bit lighter and a bit more TV friendly, and because of that, it almost hits harder when the darker elements come in. When I realized, hey, this story is just about suicide and this man being stressed out of his head and having a midlife crisis, like,
Yeah.
It's actually a really sad story.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but when you think about some of the suicides that happen that are really public, I mean, a lot of them come from
Sure, yeah.
people with personalities that you don't expect. I mean, Robin Williams was a really tough one when that happened, because he's just so bubbly. He has this outer personality that you don't see what's on the inside.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying this
and I
isn't,
think he's constantly trying to struggle with keeping his image.
Oh yeah, I'm not disputing that this isn't a valid representation of what some people are like. I'm just saying that I expect a director now to not do it this way.
Sure,
when they're making it.
I think this episode holds up because
it does. It does. It's a very strong little story. And it's very simple. Because this idyllic world that he creates, this town Willoughby, it's in the past where things were simpler. There were no advertising agencies. There were no.
A theme we've seen many times in the show so far in its first 30 episodes of season 1.
There was no, because his wife's like a member of like a charter club, that she goes to all the time. Like, there was none of that. It was I mean, maybe there was in some rudimentary way, but certainly most people never encountered them. You know, maybe the richest people in the world maybe had access to
Yeah.
something like that, but you know,
He's dreaming about the world that he read about probably as a kid, although I don't know when Mark Twain wrote Huckleberry Finn, but he's dreaming about that world, a
well,
world
think about it.
that seems simpler.
It's 1960. He's maybe about what 40 or mid 40s, something like that.
Yeah.
So he grew up maybe in the 20s and early 30s with his childhood. Like, you know, at that time, what were a lot of the stories about? Probably westerns and probably things about the dawn of the new world and all the rest of it.
Sure. Or just even hearing from his,
His parents,
elders of his own family
his
saying that
grandparents, yeah.
this is, times were simpler back then, and everybody has nostalgia for earlier times.
Yeah. He probably had grandparents who would tell him about this era. Yeah, so it lines up. But, it is this simple world where things don't have, quotas and,
Yeah.
like ad slots to fill.
I can't help but think that things have gotten so much worse since then. I mean, there are a lot of things that are better, of course, like medicine, but at least trying to keep up with society is hard.
Yeah, I mean,
and we do have high suicide rates, now.
Yeah, there's all these expectations on people. There's all these. It's this weird thing though, where it does come in both sides because there's a lot of better things as well. Like, for example, just look at this is a TV show. Look at how many more voices and how diverse voices are in TV and media now compared to 1960. There's a lot.
I mean, I'm not saying that we haven't progressed at all in other areas, but just this theme of just. I don't want to say capitalism because I'm not anti-capitalism, but like just trying
Yeah, Big
to...
Lady T likes the G's.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're trying to make a serious point and I'm making a silly joke. Go on.
That's okay. But I mean, it's tough. Like, it's just, a time like in what we see in the Twilight Zone era, somebody who worked as like a grocer probably had his own house and supported his family of 5,
Oh, sure, yeah.
And now anybody who's a grocer like can't afford rent.
The world.
And maybe it's coming from a personal place.
Yeah,
but...
no, the world from a financial place. We're both millennials. We're both living in the world that's been left behind by the baby boomers, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
Just tell me you're not dreaming of a place called Willoughby.
No.
Good.
Of course not.
I'll try and make this world a place worth staying in, Tara, for you. I promise.
All right, help me fix the environment, okay?
Okay. Wait, did I just agree to give up dairy? Damn it.
I think so.
Damn it! Damn it! You trickster! And also, I mean, obviously we're cracking a lot of jokes. If you are someone who's ever thought about suicide or you're thinking about suicide now, seek help. Talk to people. Use helplines. Whatever. It's a very serious thing. It's very easy to just crack jokes about it when you're someone who has never felt that way, or just isn't someone who generally suffers from depression. Because I'll be honest here. I'll be sort of personally honest here. As someone who's always been a very what's the word for myself? I've never been someone who really gets depressed. I have a lot of reasons to be depressed. Like, there's several things I can list that should make me a whimpering depressed person. I should be, but I'm not. And I've got a really, I don't know, strong-willed personality, I guess, despite all the shit I have to put up with. and I'm only half joking that shit is Ginger named Connor. But like. But there's a lot of reasons why someone on paper should say this guy should be pretty depressed, and I'm not. And maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe I'm just lucky that I have a very kind of like level-headed way of thinking about things, and I just don't let it get to me. But some people do, and it's something that I've never been able to necessarily understand in the way that I would like. But by all means, don't do anything drastic. Get help.
Yeah. Helplines are available to you.
Talk to friends, talk to family, and if they're the people who are making your life miserable, then use a helpline, talk to a stranger, talk to someone else, because someone will be nicer. Because some people's families suck. They do. Some people's families are awful. It's nice if you get a great one, but if you don't, then go somewhere else. Someone will care.
Yep.
I got really serious for a second, but I felt we were joking too much.
I'm all for, like, reach out to a helpline. They are good people who work there.
Yes,
and they
and
will help you.
I respect them. I also don't envy them. I can't imagine having to talk to someone in that situation. I don't think I'd be good at it. I'm far too. Uh, my sense of humor is just not right for it. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know if people who make those phone calls have much of a sense of humor at the moment.
Exactly. Which is why I don't do that job. I respect the people who do. They should do it. I shouldn't. I'm here to be somewhat entertaining, maybe a little bit insightful at times, and that's why I do silly YouTube and podcast things.
I don't know. Maybe you've helped some people and you don't even know.
Maybe I have. I might give you a purpose.
Yeah. These Twilight Zone reviews just keep me going. I can't drive off the road. I have to review Twilight Zone.
Exactly. Oh dear. And hopefully we've made some people laugh.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes. No.
Great episode.
It's a great episode. It's an episode where, there's lots of little things in the performance. I want to talk about the breakdown scene because we kind of mentioned it in passing. We didn't really sort of dig into it, but he's on like one phone. Why he even has two phones in his office is like it's never brought up why or like anything. He just does. And
maybe he's like Commissioner Gordon. Maybe that was a line to Batman. We'll know if there's only one button.
Yeah. So, he's on one phone. He's like, oh, hold on a second. Then he answers the other phone. He's like, yeah. Oh, the advertiser said, what? Ah, but that's the slot they wanted. And he's like, oh, hold on a second. And he tells the other people, he's like, oh, something wrong with the reels? Oh, I'll talk to the secretary. He mentions to him, like, hey, Mr. So-and-so wants to see. He's like, and what's interesting is that you don't hear the audio from the phones until the moment towards the end where it really starts to get to him, where he's holding both of them in his hands, and it just starts to like build up and build up. And the secretary's been so rude. He's clearly on a phone call. Why would you keep yelling at him? He's on two phone calls.
He needs to replace her.
First thing this man should do is fire this woman. At least
have her take one of the phones.
Yeah,
take notes.
Your job is to answer phones. Take this phone call. Yeah, why is she not answering her phone?
I like to think it's from the perspective of him who's just so overwhelmed that even if things aren't going on at the same time, it's just pressure on top of pressure, and he interprets it that way. Kind of like gosh, I keep forgetting the name of the episode with Burgess Meredith in it.
Time Enough at Last.
Time Enough at Last. I should really get my brain checked. The old noodle's not working so well anymore. But
why is that anyway. Saying? Why is that noodle?
I don't know. Something my parents say.
Sure, if anything, it's more of a meatloaf if we compare it to a food thing. But sure, whatever.
Okay, so it looks kind of spirally, right?
I guess.
I can't say that word. Spirally.
Spirally? Is that even a word?
Edit this out to make me sound better.
Okay. I do that all the time. I never edit things out to make you sound silly. I promise. I've never done that.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. But it kind of reminds me of that, where things were a little bit exaggerated in order to, make the allegory work better.
Yeah. Because I was going to complain, actually. See, the first time he goes to Willoughby and the conductor in the past, because he's asking all these questions. Like, no, it's not. It's July. It's summer. It's 1888. And I was going to complain that the way he says the year was really weird. Like, if he'd actually traveled in time, like, why would he just say the year like that? That's really weird. But in the context of it being a made-up place in his head, it's fine.
Well, plus when he leaves, everybody knows who he is.
Exactly, yeah.
Is welcoming. Like, it's clearly not a real place.
Because he makes the choice, he gets off, and there's these two kids walking past with like old school like fish, like just sticks that are fishing poles. Like they're not.
They look like Tom Sawyer.
Yeah. And he's like, "Hey, those are big fish," and they're like, "Yeah, real good ones. Tomorrow I might join you." Also a different type of. If a random man said, "I might join you" to a couple of kids in 2019, there would be police sirens following within about 10 minutes. Stranger danger.
A simpler time.
I mean, the sad truth is, it probably happened, just no one knew about it because there was no media.
Yeah, people don't talk about it.
That's the dark truth. And hell, we still talk about people not reporting assaults in the first place, never mind kids who go through something. I mean...
yeah.
So, yeah, that's got really dark again. There's a lot of dark things in this episode, but
It's a dark episode. It's a dark review.
Yeah, once he gets off the train and he's there and he's all happy and the music's playing, because every time he goes there, there's this it almost sounds like it's going to go into dun 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 dun.
Yeah, they play like old bluegrass music.
What's that really American song, hon? It's something they always play at like
Star Spangled Banner.
No, the Civil War things or like old timey war things. For the glory of the something.
Oh, okay.
For the glory of the na 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 na. There you go. I got it. I finally got it. That thing. It almost like it was going to go into that, but after the first couple of notes, it kind of went somewhere else. But it almost sounded to me like it was going to go into that.
It's like old bluegrassy church music.
Yeah, and it just cuts back to like in the snow, like the conductor's like he's got like a flashlight. He's like, yeah, he just jumped off the train and he's just lying there in the snow. And he's like, and we find out that Willoughby's actually the name of the funeral like parlor. It's like just in this area. And I thought I didn't really need that because to me, like I just thought it was like a play on his name, like it was like made for him. But fair enough. Like yeah, he picked.
I never made the connection to William and Willoughby, but I mean, I guess it's there.
Yeah, I don't think it's not intentional. I think it's intentional, like his place, his perfect place. So yeah,
his heaven,
his delusional wonderland that he will now spend eternity in, assuming it still exists once he's dead, which I assume it does. But yeah,
and this is all part of like some big ploy to get for Willoughby to get more business. They implant memories into the heads of people so they commit suicide, and then all of a sudden Willoughby gets all the money.
You just turned this into a super sci-fi story, but also tied it into the capitalism that is.
This would be the new Twilight Zone.
Yeah, this whole episode will be the first 5 minutes of the new Twilight Zone, and then there'll be a whole plot about how they're implanting memories into people, and yeah, you're right.
And Willoughby's actually aliens. And
yeah, the conductor's actually
also about immigration.
Oh dear. So yes, it's an episode about mental health and a midlife crisis and all those things, and it does that pretty well. So yeah, he's looking for a lifeline, and he tries to get it from his wife multiple times, and he just doesn't. It's kind of sad. And it's a hard watch, but that's what makes it a good story. Makes it a good episode. So, hey,
great episode.
There's been a few things recently. We had an episode with like black lead characters, which is kind of notable for the time period. We had the episode, where he goes to like what seemed like heaven turned out to be hell, and that had a lot of sexual there was a lot of just inferred things.
Yeah, that was a weirdly erotic episode.
Yeah. And then this one was a really dark topic for the time, and I feel like it's almost like there's a series of episodes here towards the end of season 1 where they're kind of pushing boundaries a little bit. They're like,
they're really taking chances.
So, and I like seeing that. I like noticing it. So, at the end of the episode, of course, he tells us about next time, which is going to be episode 31, and it is called The Chaser. And once again, he's in a set, although this time he has a Dutch angle. It's like a Dutch angle in a library.
I noticed. It was like Jonathan Frakes directed this.
I had to bring Jonathan Frakes into the conversation, didn't we?
He's always on my mind, so.
Oh dear. Anyway, so The Chaser, honestly, the way Serling described it sounded like someone buys a roofie because he's going to roofie his girlfriend.
That's exactly what I thought too.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Here's a description IMDb, make it clear up first. A young man obsessed with
a date rape episode.
I wonder if it has that attitude though. Is it going to have the attitude that what he does is wrong, or is it going to feel really dated because it's like?
I mean, that could be cool to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious. I don't remember anything about this episode.
Yeah, are we going to come out of next week's episode going, it was okay with the date rape part, but it was, but the
they
rest...
pushed the boundary, but they didn't.
Or is it going to be like, no, it was actually saying something positive about the subject, and ahead of its time.
I mean, Serling's pretty progressive, and I think the way he
to be fair,
depicts it pretty good.
Yeah, to be fair, so far there's not really been any troubling messages, right? Like I don't remember any that have been.
No, I think we talked recently about how he might even be like a feminist in a way, and the way he writes the female characters anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's the description of IMDb. A young man obsessed with winning over an uninterested beauty gets more than he bargained for when he buys a love potion to gain her affection. I feel positive about this. I feel like the lesson here is going to be that if it's
Maybe
not,
he spills it on like a homeless man or something.
I feel like it's going to be a lot like the episode of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where one Xander Harris convinces Amy, in fact blackmails Amy, into doing a love spell for Cordelia because he's just been dumped on Valentine's Day, and it backfires when every woman in Sunnydale except Cordelia becomes in love with him and become eventually an angry mob. I feel like it's going to have a similar
She's
lesson to
immune.
that. Sorry.
And that's also an episode of Rick and Morty, except everyone turns into monsters at the end.
Maybe
Like
inspired
actual
by Buffy.
monsters.
Wouldn't surprise me. Buffy inspired many a writer and so forth.
Yeah, I'm sure that's where it came from.
It did. How dare you? Look, I will not have any ill will towards the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer on these shows. Thank you very much. Okay?
Not into it.
You don't have to
Not
be.
into magic and vampires.
I'm not into magic, but I'm into good
There's
writing.
witches in it.
I'm into good characters. I'm into strong storytelling. The writing transcends the premise.
Okay.
Right. I was going to say I feel good about this. I feel like the point of this episode is going to say that, hey, maybe trying to trick the woman into loving you is a bad idea. I feel like that's where it's going, but
Yeah.
regardless of how it does
There's
it.
going to definitely be a be careful what you wish for episode.
Yeah. So
No shortcuts.
I love that. I feel like the dark twist of this episode in the modern day would be he sells him a love potion, but then we find out it's Rohypnol. Like it just is it's just the drug. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what you do with is a sort of satirical
Sure,
take
yeah.
on the love potion plot, but
She's still in love with me. She passed out.
that's got really dark. Yes. So
Dark episode, dark review.
yeah, but I feel like
promise.
I was going to Rohypnol jokes. Definitely was not, implied by the episode. Although it was implied by the ending with the next time on, I suppose. But there you go. That has been Twilight Zone episode 20. Sorry, episode 30. I do apologize. It's hard to accept you're in your 30s. That's all I'm saying. All right, episode 30. We will be back next time with episode 31, The Chaser. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff, and you can, of course, get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates, and of course you can support us in other ways. Tara, can they? How can they support us financially?
Why, you can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV. You can donate as little as $1 per month, and that gets you access to bonus episodes of shows that we do on the channel, such as the ACE, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, which is our science fiction movie show. We just added Leviathan. That's our newest one, bonus episode. You can check out the alien ripoff underwater.
Excuse me, Alien and The Thing ripoff underwater. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but find out what we think. Can Peter Weller save that film?
I thought you were just going to say me. I thought you were going to say Peter, and then you were going to say something about me. But you sort of hesitated before Weller. All right. Yes. Can RoboCop save the movie? Yes.
Exactly.
Luckily, he has Winston from Ghostbusters to help, so he's not completely alone. So hey,
Yeah.
I just realized this episode is actually my age. Like episode 30, it's my age.
Congratulations.
That used to not be a big deal. When when every season went to 22, there was for a long time it was like now this is a rare occasion.
Yeah. I used to work at GameStop for a few years, and they were celebrating the 30th anniversary of Mario on like the same weekend that was my birthday, and I had turned 30. Just like all this like 30 stuff everywhere. Like, okay, we can stop rubbing it in, John, all right?
Oh yeah, that's the same for me for Ethan that came out in '89. Like everyone's like, "Oh, the 30th anniversary of Batman by Tim." I'm like, "Shut up! I don't want to hear about it."
That's right. That's right. Forgot about that.
Oh, come on! All
Yeah.
right. You
Come
just
back next week.
you did just inadvertently tell them what episode number we should be saying your age in a few weeks' time.
That's all right. We've given them enough hints.
Yeah, okay. That has been the review. Thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. in the Twilight Zone.